Let's stay with business then, Elena, and take on the point that Fitch also emphasized the need actually for diversification of the economy and looking at some post-COVID opportunities that Georgian business could capitalize on.
Yes, definitely, Georgi, and I know where you are leading. Anna Tavadze will update us on Angel Investor Club and also give us more information on how the business community views the 21st century opportunities that this club offers.
Thank you so much for taking the time. The Checkpoints is happy to host you. So let me start with a question to the founders of the club. When did the idea of forming the Angel Investor Club came about? And since the first announcement about the club's establishment, how has the club moved forward?
My name is Gela Suli. I'm one of the founders of the club. The idea of forming the club was born a few years ago, maybe around 2017. We even registered the organization around 2018, but it took us a couple of years to actually start pursuing our goals. All our members, all our founders were very active in developing ecosystem of startups in Georgia. We participated in all kinds of startup competitions. We took startup founders to international tournaments. We funded some of them, but we felt that private sector involvement was kind of lacking. So we decided to host our first meeting, and it only took place 2.5 months ago. We managed to organize up to 10 meetings with various startups, and we hold bi-weekly, sometimes weekly events with startups where we do screening, where we ask probing questions, and we try to find startups that can be funded by our club members. Right now, we have a simple website that allows startups as well as potential angel investors to fill out a very simple form and basically provide us with their ideas how they can work with us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you promised to bring together business people who will be like-minded and share one philosophy. They will be ready to fund new ventures, share their knowledge and experience. So my question here would be, how exactly are you going to proceed in this regard? Can you give us insights into the mechanisms that will be put in place?
Okay, I'll try this. My name is Bazghadze. I'm one of the founding members of the Angel Investors Group. So our philosophy is based on 4 pillars. This is first is the build the business in Georgia, help the business, give something back to the country, make money, and the 4th is the have fun doing this. So the process is the following: the core group of the members will screen the deal flow and select the companies which will be presented for pitching to the investors. And the investors then will be voting in favor of some of the projects, and then will be created a subgroup, and this subgroup will be appointed to undertake the due diligence for these projects and report back then to the full membership. If the recommendations are positive, individual members make their own decisions. Each one makes their own decision, and then whether or not to invest in this particular project. And then all investing members then will be combined into a single investment. So this is, as we call it, syndicated investment, where the usually, if, for example, if there's 100,000 needed, say there's 5 interesting members who want to invest, and each one invests 20,000, and combined, it will be 100,000. So this is the philosophy of this syndicated investment.
So we know that one of the main problems of startups in Georgia is access to finance. So I want to move to Mr. Archil Bakuradze of Crystal Microfinance to offer his insights into the current startup ecosystem of Georgia. What are the most pressing challenges that startups face today, and what opportunities does the Angel Investor Club provide for startups?
I think that access to finance is really a big problem for startups in Georgia. And, in parallel of many developments which we have witnessed over the years, this has, remained to be a gap. So it's very difficult for a team with an idea to go and find, some money, the right type of money, in order to, check the prospects of this idea. Benefit of Angel Investors Club is not really only an opportunity to get a finance, but it's also very much about building trust around the ecosystem and individual projects. Because I think that the most important resource which these people are mobilizing is very much the experience and networks of these angels. So things like mentoring, expertise, ability to open doors when there are problems for prospective entrepreneurs, for founders. This is exactly something which we need. My role in all this project is probably more be like a supplier of good ideas and projects. As you might know, and your viewers, Crystal has been involved with USAID for more than 5 years in the youth entrepreneurship program, which have already trained more than 1,500 young people. And through Crystal, we financed up to 100 startups, which are very much local, national businesses. And I think that some of that experience will be very interesting and will be applicable for the club.
You offer investors an opportunity to access high growth startups, and maybe Mr. Emborg would want to comment on this. How do you ensure beneficial cooperation in this regard, with a particular emphasis on mitigating associated risks?
When you invest into startups, there's a higher amount of risk, and by making sure that you have a large portfolio of companies that you can invest into, you mitigate that risk to some extent. It's up to the club members to kind of push the companies forward that really has a potential to grow. So it's a two-way street in many ways. We expect something from the companies that we invest in. They have to meet some milestones in order to keep the investors interested.
Talking about investors and investments, I want to move to Mr. Ruslan Khoroshvili of EY Georgia. Thank you for being with us. Can you give us a brief overview of the current investment climate in Georgia, and maybe comment on what does the entering of Angel Investors Club in Georgian scene mean for Georgia?
Thank you for the opportunity. As we all know, generally, investment climate in Georgia is not very strong, and especially under the current conditions of COVID, it's not very strong globally as well. But there are some risks and also opportunities for Georgia as well as for the rest of the world. But for the Georgia, well, I think for us, the main impediment has always been the size of the market. And therefore, so this club and generally investors are looking at opportunities that may have a chance to cross the borders and show high growth potential in other markets. We have people with creative ideas, and there's things that, there are certain successes of our startups, and there are certain successes of our people starting startups abroad. So therefore, these early messengers, they give rise to a certain hype, and the people are searching for the places where you can, where there's the startup infrastructure is just starting, and Georgia is definitely one of those locations. There is a gap of financing. Unfortunately, the main financing instruments are loans, which are not good for the startup, however you want to structure it. And the second that it has become now popular is mostly grants given by the government agencies or by IFIs, which I would believe are not also very good for the startups, because the mentality of getting a grant is a little bit different than the mentality of getting a private money. And yes, with introduction of this club and similar organizations, I think it's healthier. It's actually what is the market conditions and the capitalism. So I think, and this way, this market will become more interesting and give more opportunities for the startups for the raising money.
Back to the founders of the club, I want to ask you if any of the proposals of startups have already been considered, and what are the results? Also, are there any priorities in terms of your preferences?
We must have listened about 24 presentations so far. I would say about half of them are still very interested. We are interested. We are developing a database where all startups are assigned certain status, where they are at, how founders come across, what kind of markets they're looking at, and so forth. And we plan to visit or revisit at least several of them and see if they will be ready to be presented and their proposals to the entire Angel Investment Club. As for the industries, maybe Gia can say something. I know he has some interesting ideas why we should not look at only technology.
I think that the most important thing is that for the companies that are addressing us is to find out a big problem. So they have to identify the big problem and then think about how to solve, how to tackle that problem. That's the most important thing. We have no preferences that it should be in some industry, like it should be high tech or the fintech or engineering project, doesn't matter. The main thing is that there's a problem and there's a way and there's some vision how to solve that problem. That is most important for us. So we are basically making private investments compared with the banks and the and we are giving also to the founders opportunity to learn from us, because most of us are experienced businesses who have been successful in their own business, and now we have something to share with them. And this is important. And the important thing also is that we have some common interests and trust between us and the founders, because without that trust and without this collaboration, we should not expect any success.
Last but definitely not least, what can we expect from the future stages of development of the club? Perhaps an expansion of some kind or any other initiatives?
Right now, obviously, we're concentrating on Georgia and developing the eco-climate here in Georgia, but that doesn't preclude the expansion to other regions. And I think when you look at the people that we have involved on our side that are part of the supervisory board, they are from all over the world. They're very experienced investors. They are some of them have done extremely well in this field. So we are drawing on a huge network of people around the world. Expansion is definitely on the horizon. For now, we're concentrating on building this up in Georgia and creating a good base in Georgia, and then hopefully taking it across the borders to something else. I mean, everything is global at the moment anyway, so you can't just focus on one region.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey guys, stay tuned, subscribe and follow us on BMG.